Hey guys, what's going on? It's Zain. Today I wanted to talk about the difference between expungement and sealing. So a sealing can also be called an order of non-disclosure, which means sealing, or it's an order of non-disclosure. That means it's just an order that orders the government to not disclose your orders, right? And I'll break that down in a bit. So, the main difference between the two is that when you expunge your records, when you expunge your criminal records, they're completely wiped out. Completely wiped out. The government destroys them. Either they destroy them, or in some counties, they have the option for you to come and pick them up before the government destroys them. So you could destroy them yourself, right? And usually you want to pick them up yourself and destroy them, but I know some people that not in the county at the moment. They're living somewhere else. They've hired an attorney to do the work for them in a different county because this happened a while ago. Usually you have to wait a certain statute of limitation, which is the time period, in order to even qualify for an expungement or a sealing, which is, again, an order of non-disclosure. So you might have moved around or whatnot, and it's been some years. So if you can't pick it up, the government will destroy it. That's the goal. That's their motive, to destroy it, and we hold them to their words to destroy your record. For the most part, your record will be wiped out from their website, from the government's website, from the state's databases, from the state's depositories and repositories, and just everything, right? That's what expungement does. It wipes your slate clean. There's no trace, no record of it, right? Now, an order of non-disclosure, a sealing, is exactly what it sounds like. It's just an order for non-disclosure. That means the judge signs an order after you petition the court, after the statute of limitations is up, after the time period is up, whatever that time period may be in your state for that specific charge that you were charged with, and it varies state to state. So what that order does is it just tells the government that, look, the judge orders the state to say pretty much, look, we're gonna cover up this record. This happened years ago. Now we're gonna put an order in for you to non-disclose it. That means when private employers and third parties that have nothing to do with your record, or nothing to do with you in particular, just want to look you up and to see what's going on with you, or just somebody that wants to do a background check on you, like an investigator or somebody, they won't be able to see that because the court won't release that to them. Not just the court, it'll be wiped out from everything that the government has control over. So government website, government repositories, anything that's been archived usually will be sealed as well, right? So that's what it does. But like I said, expungement is always better than getting an order of non-disclosure or a sealing, because when you seal a record, technically your record is still there. It's just been sealed. There's just an order telling the government not to disclose it to anybody, but the record is still there. Whereas an expungement, it's been completely wiped clean, right? Usually, also, why an expungement is better than a sealing is because on an expungement, there's no record of it at all. At all, right? That's the goal. There's no record of it at all. When there's a sealing, the issue is the state or the government can still release your record to some third party, to government third parties, sorry. Not private third parties, but to government third parties. Let's say you apply to be a doctor and you're going to go in front of the Board of Medical Examiners, or even a lawyer, Board of Law Examiners. Let's say you're going to be a nurse. Let's say you're going to apply to maybe the police department. Somewhere, somehow, if you're dealing with a state agency, the state agency can always look at it, right? That's because it's essentially them sealing it. When you seal a record, like I said, the record is still going to be there, right? The record is still going to be there. So the government agencies can look at it, even if you're applying to be a teacher. They most likely can see it. And then in some states, it can be used against you in a criminal proceeding to impeach you, right? In some states, it can be used in a criminal proceeding to impeach you, likely. So it's always better to get an expungement if you qualify for an expungement. That's why you need to talk to an attorney to see if you qualify for an expungement or an order of non-disclosure. Both, at the end of the day, give you the same results, but expungement has more perks and benefits to it, like I outlined, right? It's completely gone, whereas the sealing or expungement is completely wiped out. Your record, your slate is gone for that charge, whereas a sealing, it's still there, but it's just nobody can see it except for like government agencies. And an expungement, government agencies can't see it either. Okay? Now, when you apply for jobs or apply for housing, apply for whatever it is, apply for a bank, apply a bank account, apply for a house, generally you've been relieved from your liability. So depending on your state law, you don't have to disclose you've ever been arrested, you were charged with a crime. Both will afford you that opportunity. Both an order of non-disclosure, aka sealing, and an expungement of that criminal charge, of that specific criminal charge, not all other criminal charges that you may have. Just that specific criminal charge will relieve you of liability, where you don't have to say, yes, I was arrested, yes, I was involved in a criminal transaction, yes, I was involved in a criminal occurrence. Just that charge will be completely like it never happened. Again, when you're dealing with a state agency, you might have to disclose that you were arrested or whatever if you have an order of non-disclosure versus an expungement. If you have an expungement, you don't have to disclose anything, even if you're dealing with a state agency. If you're dealing with a state agency, you likely will have to disclose that order of non-disclosure and say it's sealed, because they'll get access to it anyways. They'll get access to it. All right. So that's that. Now, generally, in today's world, expungement and sealing are supposed to relieve you of liability. But nowadays, there's private third parties that gather so much data from courts, third parties, jails, other government websites, that they have your record. Now, when you expunge a record or seal a record, generally state governments are the only ones that usually are supposed to abide by it, depending on your state law, right? And generally, the state is supposed to send a letter to all of these these independent third parties also that have your data, that have your criminal background history. Now, since everything's uploaded online these days and everything is just on the computer these days, generally these third parties don't really get the order, of expunction or the order of non-disclosure from the judge that either grants you an expunction or an order of non-disclosure, aka sealing. So sometimes, occasionally, somebody will do a background search on you and your record will still pop up, right? It's because that third party wasn't made aware that you had an order of non-disclosure, or wasn't aware that you had a expunction order. Remember, I said if you have an order of non-disclosure and expunction, both relieve you of third-party searches. Third-party as in private party searches. When I say third-party background companies that will pop up sometimes, even if your record has been expunged or sealed, I mean private third-party companies that do provide background searches. They get their data from courthouses, usually. So, sometimes they don't get the memo. They don't understand what happened. So very occasionally it will pop up. Usually what you can do is you can hire an attorney to tell them, look, my record's popping up here. Can you please send them the order? And usually your attorney will try to solve it and figure out a way to get in touch with that third-party private company, right? Like I said, when you have an expunction or an order of non-disclosure in hand, private companies, private third parties, private employers, private banks, whatever, cannot access your record ever. The government, when you're applying for a different government position, like you're applying to be a teacher, you're trying to be a lawyer, a doctor, a dentist, a pharmacist, whatever, police officer, they can see your record because they're not really private third party companies. They're government employees. They can only see your record again if you have an order of non-disclosure or a sealing. If it's an expungement, they can't see your record. But like I said, again, now since everything is online, even if you do have an expunction, they may be able to see your record, right? So all this is to say that the government usually won't be able to see your record if it's been expunged, but if you have a criminal record or a record, the government, even if it's been expunged, the government may be able to see it. May, because everything's online, right? Third parties, private third party background companies may be able to see it, even if it's been expunged, right? With same thing with an order of non-disclosure, they may be able to see it if it's been expunged. They don't really always get the memo, technically speaking, right? So generally they won't be able to see it, but sometimes private third parties, background companies may be able to get access to an expunged or order or a sealing case, a case that's been expunged or sealed. They may be able to get access to it, and somebody else might find it. Okay, now government, right? I'm going to break it down one more time. Government, they can't see anything if it's been expunged. They can see stuff if it's been sealed. Now, since, like I said, the same thing applied with private third-party companies. The government may be able to see your record even if it's been expunged because everything's uploaded online. Generally, they won't, so don't worry about it. If it's been sealed, they'll always have access to it, okay? Because they're the ones sealing it. They just put a seal on it. The record is still there. It hasn't been wiped clean like an expungement does. So, guys, that's all I wanted to say. If you have any questions about an expungement or sealing order, get in touch with me and I'll help you out, all right? Like, comment, and subscribe.